Hello, this is Dr. Michael Greger coming to you live from my treadmill. YouTube just changed things around. I hope this is at the right URL. Let me just tell my staff that I am live in hopes that they figure it out and everyone else can figure it out as well. And I hope my sound is okay. I had a problem with that on Facebook Live earlier. Anyway, for those of you unfamiliar with Mark, every year, every issue of every English language nutrition journal in the world, so busy folks like you don't have to. I think compile the most interesting, most groundbreaking, most practical findings into new videos and articles I upload every day, or almost every day, to my nonprofit site, NutritionFacts.org. Everything on the website is free. There are no ads, no corporate sponsorships, strictly non-commercial, not selling anything, just put it up as a public service, as a labor of love, as a tribute to my grandmother, whose own life was saved with evidence-based nutrition. And if I didn't say it at the beginning, this is Dr. Michael Greger coming to you live from my treadmill to answer any questions you may have, as I do every month. If you want to know about all my live events and all my other events, like my 2 fasting webinars coming up, I already gave one webinar on intermittent fasting. I have a 3-hour webinar coming up on fasting for disease reversal, like autoimmune disease. And then on September, I believe, 19th, and then October 25th, I have another 3-hour live webinar on fasting and cancer. You can go to NutritionFacts.org and subscribe to our monthly newsletters. You can see all the new stuff so you don't miss it. All right. Well, this is neat. There's this new little live chat stream on the side, kind of like Facebook. It makes it easy. I don't have to switch back and forth between browsers. Let us see what questions you have for me today. Aaron Allard says, thank you. Oh, thank you for being an inspiration. That's very sweet. And Aaron is evidently living a happier and healthier life because of me. Keep up the good work. Well, keep up the good work yourself. You are happy and healthier because of you. I'm just providing information. It's people like you that are putting it to the test. Laura says, is there microplastic in vegetables? There should not be any microplastic in vegetables because vegetables don't take it up like aquatic organisms do. Just like we would not even presume microplastics are in sea vegetables, which are actually in the ocean, where the microplastics tend to end up because they're not actually taken in. Plants don't eat anything, whereas aquatic organisms like fish eat littler fish, which become exposed to microplastics in the water. So don't have to worry about eating plastic in your vegetables. All right, Tyler says, is vinegar bad for you? No. In fact, I've a video showing how good vinegar is for you. In fact, I encourage people to eat vinegar. I believe my recommendation is 2 teaspoons at each meal. And he said, wait a second, vinegar at breakfast? Well, obviously, you haven't heard about all the amazing exotic flavored vinegars out there, like chocolate vinegar and blackberry ginger vinegar and smoky flavors or savory sweet flavors. I have about 10 different types of vinegars, and you can match them to anything. Why is vinegar so good for you? Because vinegar, by definition, is acetic acid. And the acetate is when it's metabolized, boosts AMPK. What is AMPK? That's known as the fat controller in the body. It's a kind of an energy gauge within your body. Anyway, trust me, or watch my videos at NutritionFacts.org. And I have a whole section on vinegar in my upcoming book, which is out December. Few caveats, though. Never drink vinegar straight, right? It has to be diluted. So, yeah, you can put some vinegar, my 2 teaspoons of vinegar. You can put in some hot tea, frankly, with a little lemon juice. Or you can put in a glass of water and just chug it down. But we should never drink vinegar straight. You can actually burn your esophagus. Same thing with these like apple cider vinegar pills, tablets. Never take those. They may not even have any vinegar in them, and they can indeed burn your throat. Alistair asked Dr. Greger, how do you respond to someone who says everyone has a bias when you try to show them the evidence that animal products are bad for us? Oh, no, absolutely. That's why we have the scientific record, the peer-reviewed scientific record, which is our humanity's attempt at trying to weed out the bias. Now, does that work? Well, certainly there's lots of bias in the peer-reviewed scientific literature. This goes back to the tobacco industry, the Tobacco Institute, which tried to first start using the scientific record as a way to market its product and muddy the waters and confuse people about the health risks of smoking. But the reason they did that is because they realized that really is the best source of knowledge. And so if we could corrupt that, we could corrupt everything. And so there's certainly been a lot of pushback. In fact, there's a lot of medical journals these days that refuse to accept studies that are funded by tobacco companies these days, regardless of what the studies actually are. And so that's, of course, what we'd like to see throughout the rest of the medical literature, not just a telling people about conflicts of interest, but actually not just divulging conflicts of interest, but actually removing conflicts of interest. Why do we have, companies like Coca-Cola publishing studies about the health effects of soda? Divulged or not, it's not a good idea, and introduces these kind of biases. And so stick with the science is what I would say to that question as best you can. In fact, I'm going to do a webinar on how to read a research paper, which goes through over a few hours, we should be able to get to a point where anyone should be able to download and understand these kind of sneaky ways in which corporate funders may try to reach funder-friendly conclusions that may not indeed reflect what the science shows. I think I'm actually on a different, hold on one second. It is actually playing, but it's on a different URL. Okay. We had a little problem with sound before, but I believe we are just on a different URL because YouTube changed their algorithm. All right, next up. Okay, so we did that one. Gis Lisp asked, any advice for people on dialysis? Anyone on dialysis needs to be followed closely by a dialysis dietitian. See, normally, our kidneys are able to carefully balance nutrients going in and out of the body, and we don't have working kidneys, then we have to be very careful of not being overloaded by something like potassium. I mean, normally potassium we are desperately in need of. 4,700 milligrams a day is the minimum. And 98% of Americans don't even reach the recommended minimum intake of potassium. So for most people, oh my God, we're not getting enough potassium. We're not eating enough beans and greens. But for people on dialysis who don't have working kidneys, the potassium can actually build up and be dangerous. And that's why you need a special dietitian for people with non-working kidneys. Steve Martin sent a heart back to you. Casey Keeby said some nice things. So did Lucas. Super Sound Set asks, hello, doctor. Appreciate all your work. Can't wait for the new book. It'll be out December, I think, 10th. I'm super excited for that to come out. Janine asks, is there evidence to support a gluten-free diet plus whole food plant-based for AI autoimmune conditions like Hashimotos and rheumatoid arthritis? Gluten-free diets are critical for a certain type of autoimmune disease called celiac disease. And if you don't have celiac disease, which afflicts about 101 in 144 people, so a little less than 1% here in the States. But if you don't have either a wheat allergy, celiac gluten sensitivity, or non-celiac gluten sensitivity, then you don't have to worry about gluten. Slick335 says hello from Germany. I'm actually coming to Germany, coming to speak in Berlin next year, I believe in May is my Europe trip. Joey says, have I looked into the research into soy possibly preventing male pattern baldness? Well, certainly didn't work for me, but I have not indeed looked at diet, meal pot, and baldness at all, actually. And I have no idea if soy would help. But if you find an article on it, and I may do a video about it, send it my way. Tyler I'll just say Tyler. Having trouble hitting my RDI for vitamin E. Well, where are we going to find vitamin E? Vitamin E is a fat-soluble vitamin, so you find it in foods like nuts, seeds, avocados. And you shouldn't have a problem if you are eating my recommended amounts. In my Daily Dozen app, available free iPhone and Android, Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen, trying to encourage people to fit some of the healthiest of healthy foods into their daily diet. NutriVeg Mama asks, please talk about Hashimotos and veganism. What we do know from the Adventist 2 study is that those eating plant-based diets do have the better euthyroid levels, meaning normal thyroid levels, significantly lower levels of hyperthyroidism, I believe. But we do not know, but there is yet to look at Hashimoto's, or I believe even hypothyroidism specifically, although you certainly could get hypothyroidism if you didn't get adequate iodine intake, regardless of what else you're eating. Good morning to you too, Jane Brittany. Hello. Is pseudotumor cerebri curable? That is not something that I have looked into. But if you email me at mhg1, just the number 1, at cornell.edu, cornell.edu, and remind me, I will look into it. Maui asks, how often should you eat red meat in a week? I would encourage people to decrease their consumption. Every time we put anything in our mouth, it is a lost opportunity to put something even healthier in our mouth. And so there's an opportunity cost to eat anything. It's kind of a zero-sum game. So if the only way you're not going to put bologna in your mouth is to put steak in your mouth, then eat that steak, because red meat is less dangerous than processed meat in terms of, for example, carcinogenicity, ability to cause cancer in human beings. Red meat's only a probable carcinogen, whereas bacon, ham, hot dogs, lunch meat, sausage, processed meat is a known category 1 carcinogen, according to the IARC. Tim 1 asks, what are good foods for ligament injury for a torn ligament? No, I don't think there's any particular foods other than a healthy diet. For all repair, we need to just eat as healthful as possible, and that is a diet centered around whole plant foods. But I don't think there's anything specific, certainly, that's been put into a test in an interventional study for that kind of connective tissue repair. I mean, obviously, your body would need vitamin C and zinc and things to repair ligament, but you should get that in a healthy diet, and taking extra wouldn't necessarily help. Nicholas says, Southeast Wisconsin says hi, hello, and that's very sweet. Susan says, oh, do I consider amaranth a whole grain? Absolutely, eat your amaranth. It's nice and crunchy. In fact, explore all sorts of grains and pseudograins. Go crazy. In fact, I made just yesterday, had quinoa tots. You've heard of tater tots? Well, you can make them with quinoa and onions, and delicious. Came out great. Recipe testing for a new book coming out by Tony Okamoto. Hopefully she didn't mind me telling you about her quinoa tots. Jack Forrester. Oh, Jack. Wonderful. Hello, Jack. I'm coming to San Diego January 11th. I hope to see you there. Jack Forrester is a wonderful supporter in San Diego. How to better the lungs with that, if you are indeed that same Jack Forrester. So lungs. I have an entire chapter on how not to die from lung disease in How Not to Die. Critically important, of course, smoking cessation, but also talk about the importance of the anti-inflammatory, antioxidant effects of fruits and vegetables, for example, in terms of improving lung function, for example, COPD, asthma, on down the list. Joy asks, what veggies should we avoid if we have oxalate kidney stones? If you are, everybody should avoid cups a day of the 3 high oxalate dark green leafy vegetables, which is spinach, Swiss chard, and beet greens. And if you already know that you have oxalate kidney stones, then it's particularly important to stay away from those high oxalate greens. For everybody else, those greens can be eaten, but only in moderation, not cups a day. But someone who already has oxalate kidney stones and is really trying to cut down on oxalates, I would just remove those 3 greens and stick with other wonderful greens like kale and collards and arugula, where you don't have to worry about too many oxalates. All right, neurofibromatosis and diet. Not something I've ever looked into, but again, email me and I'd be happy to do that for you. Saludos desde Mexico, Felipe. Saludos to you. Yeet asks, can you help diarrhea with diet? Yes, indeed, but it depends on what is causing the diarrhea. And so I would encourage you to go to your physician. So chronic diarrhea is basically considered like 15 days of diarrhea. If you have diarrhea that long, you really should go see your physician. You could have a parasite, you could have all sorts of things that could be causing that, and they need to get to the bottom of it. And then once you know your diagnosis, come back to me and I'd be happy to talk about dietary approaches to help. Hidden says keto. I don't know if that's a question, but if it is a question, I have 7 videos or 5 videos. I just came out with a whole series of keto videos. The last one just came out yesterday, I believe. I'm so excited to get those out. Those have been, people have been requesting those. And so I was so excited to finally do a deep dive into ketogenic diets. And they're all up right now on NutritionFacts.org. In fact, if you click on the latest video, it'll be the last, I believe, in the series on ketogenic diets for diabetes. All right. John Noble says, hello from Yorkshire, England. Can plant-based diets help with lumbar spine problems? I actually have a video on that too. So lumbar spine, your lower back, often caused by degenerative disc disease, which is kind of the padding tissue between your vertebrae and your spine, which is actually the largest avascular tissue in the body, meaning it doesn't have any blood vessels. So it just relies on diffusion for oxygen to get in from the outside and for waste products to kind of diffuse away, which makes them very sensitive to lack of blood flow. And so your vertebral arteries that come off your aorta and go and feed your spine can become clogged off, just like the arteries clogged off in your heart or your brain through atherosclerosis, and can cut off blood supply. And we think that may be causing degenerative disc disease and many of these lower back problems. And so we have studies that can correlate on MRI, the clogging of the arteries with the degree of disease. What we don't have are treatment studies. If we can reverse arterial clogs in the heart, if we reverse heart disease with a whole food plant-based diet, shouldn't we be able to reverse back pain too that's caused by a lack of blood flow to the spine? I would love to see that study done. And if there's a researcher out there that's willing to do it, I will do a video about it. All right, about your study. Where are we here? Rob, King of the Plants, says, hello there. My question is if dietary cholesterol leads to direct postprandial rise in blood cholesterol. Yes, indeed. So dietary cholesterol increases your cholesterol, not only your fasting cholesterol, that you take in the morning, but actually your postprandial or after the meal cholesterol as well. And we actually live mostly in a postprandial state. So by just taking fasting cholesterol, you underestimate the impact of dietary cholesterol and disease. And just recently published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, Zhong et al. Showed this was, I believe, 6 American cohorts of individuals showing that diet cholesterol or egg consumption associated with significantly increased risk of cardiovascular disease. Okay, Wiener Dog Man Paul asks, do I feel there's a need for taking vitamin D3? I've been seeing many doctors say no, and testing for low D is inefficient. Thank you. So I have a whole series of videos on vitamin D, what it works for, what it falls flat on its face and does not work for. But I do recommend people who don't get adequate sunshine. Remember, it's the sunshine vitamin. If you're not getting enough sunshine and you're not making enough vitamin D yourself, you need to get vitamin D somehow. If you're not getting adequate sunshine, then I encourage 2,000 international units of vitamin D a day. That's what I take. Why? Because I'm inside all day at my computer making awesome videos for you and not getting enough sunshine, unfortunately. Okay. Oh, how funny. That's my Alexa. I must have said the C word, computer, and it thought I was talking to it. Fave Game says, should I go vegan as a... I'm shutting off Alexa. That is hilarious. Should I go vegan as a 15-year-old? We should eat healthy, whole food plant-based diet at every age. So the latest position paper of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the largest and oldest association of nutrition professionals in the world, says that strictly plant-based diets, vegan diets, are appropriate for all stages of the life cycle, including pregnancy, breastfeeding, infancy, all the way up through old age, and it actually has advantages in terms of chronic disease prevention. My only caveat is just because you're eating vegan doesn't necessarily mean you're eating healthy, because there's all sorts of vegan junk food out now. When I started eating healthy a long time ago, nearly 29 years ago, someone was a vegan, then what do? They shop in the produce aisle. But now there's vegan donuts and vegan ice cream and vegan all sorts of any kind of junk you'd like. And so it's not enough to eat vegan. You actually have to eat your vegetables. So that's what I would encourage you to do as a 15-year-old or as an any-year-old. Besettlenik asks, how long do you eat a plant-based diet? Well, if you're asking me, it was since July 21st, 1990. So we are now at about 29 years. Adventure awaits. Is broccolini a cruciferous vegetable? It is indeed. Yeah. Broccolini, just like broccoli, is a cruciferous cabbage family vegetable and has sulforaphane and all those other wonderful things that we like. And that's why cruciferous vegetables has a special place on my Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen app. Dar1213 says, has diet been shown to improve neurogenesis? Growing new nerve cells. I do have videos on showing it improves peripheral neuropathy, but that's not so much growing new nerve cells as kind of repairing the nerves that you already have, presumably. Not that I am aware of. It's very difficult to do neurogenesis studies. What they do is, the only way we know that you are actually capable of neurogenesis is that they've had terminal patients take some radioactive cocktail, and then on autopsy, we've been able to show that some of the radiation has been incorporated into new nerve cells, which shows that, oh, wow, we didn't even think we could make new brain cells, for example, but we actually can. But you can imagine how difficult it is to actually follow that process. Next, nutrition advice asks Sluice for treating BPH, benign prostatic hypertrophy. Absolutely, if you just type in enlarged prostate, NutritionFacts.org, all those videos will come up. And I believe flax seeds is my chief recommendation for BPH. Works just as good as the leading drug, but without the side effects. There's actually, I believe, a head-to-head test. And so I was excited to do a video about it. Smoke Monster asks, have I looked into fermented nut cheeses? In terms of science, there haven't been any studies. There actually was a study funded by the dairy industry on Daiya cheese, which is a kind of tapioca starch based cheese, not a nut-based cheese. Showing just how threatened the dairy industry appeared to be. It's one of my favorite hilarious studies showing how you can try to manipulate the science to get a funder-friendly effect. So you can type in DAIYA into NutritionFacts.org. It should pop right up. But in terms of nut cheeses, as far as I know, there's been no studies done on them. All right. Oh, where did you go? Myla. Wow. Oh, did I just jump down out of nowhere? Oh, I'm sorry. It skipped down. Ooh, let me go all the way back. I'm sorry. I want to get them in order. I don't want anyone to think I'm skipping questions. Oh, it just completely started from scratch. Okay. Sorry about that. So now I'm up at, I guess I got so many that it just kind of, I don't know, the first batch disappeared. I'm now at Mike Stokes asking, what are my thoughts on honey? Honey is just like any other free sugar, meaning industrial sugar, like table sugar, high fructose corn syrup, meaning there's basically empty calories, which is not what we want. And also thoughts on CBD. I did a whole long series of videos about cannabis. Unfortunately, there are very few studies done on CBD specifically. Aisha asked, 3 years vegan, but triglycerides are up. What do I eat? Also hypothyroid. So hypothyroidism can increase your cholesterol. I don't know about triglycerides, and if your hypothyroid isn't treated, your cholesterol should be fine. That's right. Oh, so triglycerides. So you can get triglycerides, overeating a variety of calories, but predominantly refined grains. And some people are so sensitive that even powdered grains, even if it's whole grains, can increase your triglycerides. So I encourage you to try to switch over to intact grains, meaning kind of oat groats, for example, instead of rolled oats or something. And so avoiding flour products and seeing if your triglycerides don't come down. Waterproof asks, howdy. Have you seen any science on people that follow a vegan diet long-term having problems with low EPA DHA? So these are these long-chain omega-3 fatty acids. I think there's enough concerning data that would suggest that people that don't eat fish should eat a everyone should eat a pollutant-free source of omega-3s. We should be able to create EPA and DHA alone, eating the short-chain omega-3s, alpha-linolenic acid, found flaxseeds, walnuts, etc. Can we make enough for optimum health? We're still not sure. And so I encourage people to consider 250 milligrams of preformed pollutant-free DHA. You can get it in algae-based sources. And you say, well, wait a second. Is that necessary? Do I have to do it? You make that determination yourself. Watch my videos on the subject where I review the science. I'm convinced by the data, but you may look at the same data and say, I don't think it's there yet. And that is totally up to you. As opposed to something like vitamin B12, which is critically important for anyone eating a plant-based diet, no controversy whatsoever. Coq Leong asked, do you have to add mustard powders to broccoli sprouts to get sulforaphane? No, because broccoli sprouts are eaten raw. You only have to add mustard powder to cooked cruciferous vegetables that have not been pre-chopped. Now, if you are like boiling your broccoli sprouts, cooking broccoli sprouts, which I guess you could do. I've never heard of that. But then, yes, you'd have to add mustard powder unless you chop them up, waited 45 minutes before cooking. All right, Michael says, why is your, nice name, why is your recommended 200 or so grams of carbohydrates healthy? It's because of the form those carbohydrates are in. It's not the amount of carbohydrates, where you're getting it from, right? Carbohydrates are lentils and lollipops. It's kidney beans or jelly beans. Cotton candy is carbohydrates, but so are, legumes, which are one of the healthiest foods out there. So it's the source. So there's healthy forms of fat. There's unhealthy forms of fat, right? There's lard versus walnuts. For protein, right? There's kidney beans versus, pork rinds, whatever. It's the source. So as long as you're getting your carbohydrates from whole food sources, then it doesn't matter how many you're eating. Pat Ballard asks, hasn't the predamond nut study been discredited? So predamond, one of the most famous randomized controlled trials of all time, had some randomization problems. And so what they took the entire thing down, and they reanalyzed the data and republished it back up on the New England Journal of Medicine. And so before, with the original data set, they found that that those randomized to eating about a palmful of nuts every day cut the risk of stroke in half. Remarkable. So now that it's been reanalyzed and the data has been put back up, what did they find? They found literally the exact same. I think it's like 45% lower risk and exactly 45 again, or 46. It was literally the exact same amount after the corrections have been made. So yes, it was retracted, reanalyzed, but then republished with the exact same results when it came to nuts. Pascal asks, can we get too much vitamin A from vegetables? No. Why? Because unlike vitamin A, our body can actually control the conversion of beta carotene to vitamin A. So if we need more vitamin A, we do more conversion. If we need less, we do less conversion. Because there's in vitamin A itself in vegetables, there is beta carotene, the precursor. And so we have the supply of beta carotene, and our body can make as much vitamin A as we want. Of course, we have to actually eat those vegetables. So we want to eat every day. We want to eat carotenoid-rich vegetables, beta carotene-rich vegetables like orange vegetables like pumpkin, sweet potatoes, carrots, or dark green leafy vegetables, which have the orange hidden in them. All right. Oh, I'm already over time. I am so sorry. And I hope everyone found this with the new kind of YouTube setup, and looking forward to getting back to your questions next month. Subscribe to NutritionFacts.org to find out when my next Q&A is.